hi, everybody. We'll start the way we have started this week, and it seems appropriate. People think that we ought to start this way on our Mountain Time 5 calls. And then it's just a little moment of silent time, reflection, prayer, meditation for folks who've been victimized by the pandemic, as well as the horrific events over this past couple of weeks with regard to the death of George Floyd. So let's take a few seconds. Thank you. Thank you all. I appreciate that very much. Imagine that there's a freedom bell ringing. Dingle, 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 ding, because I left mine and I'm down in the bunker. And you know, when you're down in the bunker, well, I guess it has different connotations this week. Anyway, I don't have my freedom bell, but welcome to Mountain Time at 5. The crew is here. Eileen, Melissa, Mary Ann, Jessica, Kevin, Scott, Kevin, and we have some wonderful guests today. Let me do a couple of quick reminders and I'll flip it to Jessica and Scott. I want to remind everybody, Wild West chapter, if folks in Colorado, reminder, you can do the Wild West chapter. Jessica asked the other day, what time's the Wild West chapter? And Paul Sandoval, who's the president, said high noon, of course. So that's tomorrow at high noon. You can get the Zoom info and join that call. Big jewelry sale tomorrow to raise money for the Colorado Association of Guide Dog Users. And the Mountains and Plains chapter. And our Mountains and Plains chapter president has a big kind of bling sale going on. I think the items cost like $5 and $6 and $7 for earrings and necklaces. And you know, it's time to buy gifts. So you can get the Zoom information for that as well. National Convention registration. I'd like Scott to talk about that just a little bit. But first, here is the co-star of the show, along with Scott LaBar. Here's Jessica.
Hey there. Hey. So don't forget, everybody, we still have our COVID-19 hotline, which is also doubling as our Lyft service animal and Uber service animal discrimination complaint line. So if you have either of those needs, you can call us at 303-778-1130, extension 219. That's 303-778-1130, extension 219, or email assistance@nfbco.org. That's assistance@nfbco.org. Next week, we have an exciting lineup for you. On Wednesday night, we're going to be talking all about transit in the pandemic and how transit is going currently. Some here in Colorado will be sourcing some other ideas for how transit's going in other places where maybe it's working effectively. And then on Thursday, we will be talking about mail-in ballots, what we've done here in Colorado, and that we've got an election that's coming up. Actually, the ballots are being sent out probably close to as we speak right now. And so we're going to be talking a lot about that, and it'll be a great time for anybody who maybe is not with us here in Colorado. If you're trying to get mail-in ballots in your state, we can help to tell you a little bit about how we got it done here and the work that we still have left to do to make it to where we don't have to sign the darn document and print it off. So anyhow, that's what I have. Scott LaBar?
Friday, we're encouraging people, Skip, Kev, not to do Mountain Time at 5, right? We're not doing Mountain Time at 5.
Friday. I didn't know next Friday. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, next Friday, correct. We're not doing Mountain Time at 5. We're encouraging people to join our group of African-American Black Lives Matter leaders. And they're having a conference call encouraging all, they're part of our excellent inclusion committee, and they're having a special event next Friday, and I think that's the plan. I may have talked out of turn here, but we'll let you know. We'll let you know. All right, Scott?
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. And about National Convention registration, it closes on the 15th of June. And we want to get as many people registered from Colorado as we can. Currently, we're at 123. Woo! Not too bad, but we can do a lot better. Total convention registration is already over 3,200. We're really trying to hit 5,000, and I think we can. Now, here's the deal. We're ahead of Louisiana, which I thought was really cool. We learned that last night on the presidential release live. And when I heard that, I sort of started texting with Pam Allen, and I was giving her some grief. And you know what? She had the temerity to send me back a text message with the emoji of a face with a tongue sticking out.
Oh,
Really? I mean, she couldn't come up with any words or any substantive answer to Colorado's challenge for convention registration. She just stuck her tongue out at me. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. Anyway, so please do register. And there was another point I was going to make based on something you said, Jessica, but I forgot. So if I remember, I'll put it out on our listserv. I'm really excited about tonight's show, as Kevin would say. What's that, Jess?
I said, yeah, me too.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be great. I've certainly heard JP perform a number of times. He's awesome, and I know Precious is as well. And I want to also thank Caitlin for helping us out tonight. So let's rock.
We're going to rock and roll. I would just say one thing about National Convention. We've got about 10 days, and I would encourage my Colorado folks, get out there and register your family, your friends. Know your guide dogs are not eligible for a door prize, but register, folks, and show them how to register. Get them psyched up about it. Call them up and tell them how the Zoom platform is going to work, and register them. And every chapter, get out there and we don't want to be number 9 or 8, man. We can't, no. All right, Caitlin McIntyre is with us. Hello.
Hello, it's great to be with you all tonight.
Caitlin is the vice president of our National Federation of the Blind Performing Arts Division, as well as a singer and dancer and player and instrumentalist, and basically, in my opinion, a star in her own right. You can help us co-chair this thing or co-facilitate or whatever. But first, tell us just a little about you and what you do, Caitlin.
Sure, yeah. So as Kevin said, I have my Master of Music in Vocal Performance, which means I sing opera and other kinds of styles, jazz and musical theater and a whole host of other things. I do play piano and guitar, and I teach all of those things as well. So I teach music right now over Zoom, which is an adventure in itself, but it's going well. And I've also done some acting. I've done competitive ballroom dancing, and just love to dabble in lots of performing arts. And I am indeed the vice president of our NFB Performing Arts Division. And we would love to have anyone, whether you are a hobbyist or a professional performing artist, you are always welcome to join us. We have social media, we have a listserv. We're going to be doing some events at convention, which we can talk more about later at some point. And it's just a wonderful place to be in the NFB, in the National Federation of the Blind. And I'm grateful to join in on some Colorado talk here. It's a great state.
You are one of my favorite people, as you know. I just love your full-size personality, and that you're just like, you know, what is the Broadway play? The smell of the grease paint and the whatever all that is.
Oh yeah.
Whatever that was. It's a lot. You should be on Broadway. I absolutely believe you should be on Broadway. You are. I think.
Well, thanks. You can be my agent.
I'm happy to. Well, you know,
yeah.
Since I have no talent, I got to be able to do something. How is your business going during this time? You say you're teaching still.
Yeah, it's definitely been an adventure. I have had to kind of get used to the whole teaching online and adjusting audio settings, which is, you know, all still never perfect, but it's good. I've actually added a few new students, because the cool thing is now that everything is virtual, I can teach students in different states, which is exciting. But it's also, you know, it's a little less it's harder for people to get emotionally invested, I think, in doing things online. It's great to be in, you know, the studio with someone and doing things right next to each other, really being able to, you know, do things hands-on. And there's something about live music in the same room that really increases that enthusiasm and encouragement. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but going okay. The performing has kind of subsided for the moment, although I have tried to do a few things online, and I really admire those who've been able to still keep that up with, you know, Facebook Live concerts. And I know we're going to hear from Precious. She did an amazing senior recital during this whole adventure. So I know that there are a lot of people still performing out there, and I'm excited to get back to that in person someday.
Yeah, I think all of us are. And we've got our Kansas president, Tom Page, who's going to come on and visit with us at some point.
Yes.
Who is doing, I think they're doing a virtual Wichita River Fest tomorrow. His band, Makers, and all that's going to be virtual. So he's one of the greatest musicians we have in the Federation. He's truly
Excellent.
Now, before we introduce Precious, she's young, she's the opening act, right? So we'll get Precious up here in a minute. But Caitlin, how did you find the Federation? What's that story about?
Oh, well, I am one of those who found it through the National Scholarship Program, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, I had heard about it a little bit when I was younger. My parents read Future Reflections and always raised us with a very positive view of blindness. I was always encouraged to not let blindness be an obstacle to reaching for my goals and to have very high expectations for myself and for others. So it was kind of, it wasn't so much of a shock when I came into the Federation as, oh my goodness, here's 3,000 other people that are, really pursuing the same kind of ideals that I like to espouse. So I was very blessed and honored to receive a 2014 National Scholarship, and that was my very first NFB event. It was incredible. The excitement of the convention and just meeting people from all walks of life in all different careers, other performers, lawyers, merchants, teachers, everyone who was just living the life they wanted and pursuing their dreams, not letting blindness hold them back, was very exciting, very compelling. And I just jumped right in, became a board member of the Performing Arts Division that same year, and now have been vice president for 4+ years since then, and have lived in a variety of states since then. So I keep feeling like I just start to get involved with an affiliate and then I move somewhere else. But it is a wonderful organization, and I love my people from Pennsylvania and Arizona and Wisconsin and now New York, and all great places to be. So yeah, the NFB has just been such an encouragement in my life and really pushed me to become an even better version of myself since I've been involved. So I am very grateful to be here.
I like that. I think that the notion of becoming a better version of ourselves is something that, some people in the sort of the self-help vernacular, it's sort of become jargon, and yet it's true.
Yes.
So absolutely true that we all work to become a better version of ourselves. We're fine. We're just trying to get a little better version of ourselves.
That's right.
So non sequitur, I think it was the smell of the grease paint and the roar of the crowd. I think that's what it was. Boom.
Right.
Okay. Before
There
we
you
get
go.
Precious, let me ask you this. Your favorite kind of dance?
Ooh, I love the Viennese waltz.
Oh, come on. Not the cha-cha-cha?
Oh, well, that's actually what I'm teaching at convention. Little secret surprise there on July 16th. So, save the date. But I do love it. But the Viennese waltz, you just spin around the floor. It's so free flowing and moving, and the music is great. You could dance to Strauss and some other great late romantic composers. But yeah, it's all great.
Dizzy. Just making me dizzy here. My favorite is tap. I probably would have gone into drama if I could have been able to do tap, but I love tap dance. I love it. It's so rhythmic, and it's a sound. That's one dance that, makes a sound. Blind guys like it.
It does.
Yeah. It
does. Tap is awesome.
All right, are we ready to do this? Let's meet her super talent that I have met 4 or 5 years ago at the Massachusetts convention. She has just conducted a senior recital and graduated from Berklee School of Music, which, if you guys know, she'll tell us a little about it, I'll bet. You don't go to Berklee School of Music if you're just some piker. You gotta have a little ability to go to Berklee. Precious Perez is with us. Precious, can we hear you? Are you there?
Hi, everybody.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm well.
Yeah,
Well.
You've been performing, or what you been up to during pandemic?
Whew. So funny story. I'm not actually graduated yet. I have another 1.5 years because I'm also doing music education. So that's taking up a lot more requirements. But I've been, as you both just talked about, I did my senior recital on Facebook Live. So that was quite the adventure. It worked out really well. But on top of going from having a band and ready to rehearse and doing all those things to having to figure out a completely new format was terrifying. But Facebook is the place that I personally have a lot of people on, and a lot more potential to, have people watch and be more mainstream. So what I ended up doing was creating an event on Facebook and inviting everybody I knew would be interested in attending. And my sister, who is a film student, actually helped with the setup of the camera and all of that. My family was super involved because they had to keep the house quiet for an hour on a specific day. So that was a good time. And yeah, I mean, I had to, write out the outline with my voice teacher and figure out the set list and have everything queued up. And aside from a few technical glitches, like my speaker dying in the middle of the last song and then having to basically say, okay, I'm just going to restart that because I want it to be the full thing. It went really well. I was able to save the video and have it on YouTube now so that I'll always have it documented. Not exactly the way I wanted it to be done, but it's still, something that's definitely never going to be forgotten. And it was definitely a good experience and a positive experience. So that was really cool.
People should know, how do they get to that? Because I saw it and listened to it. And it was really fun. It was really great. And you're such a talent. They can just go to YouTube. How do they find that if they want to go?
If you just type in Precious Perez Senior Recital, it should pop up.
Okay, cool. That's very good. That's very. Now, Kate, you jump in anytime you want. The way we do this is we just jump in and interrupt each other. So if you have a question for these two guests, we just
pester Precious with all kinds of questions.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah,
I'm here for it.
Why? How'd the music career get started? Has it always been in your soul? Did you pick up a ukulele and when you were 12 on the beach with your family? What went down?
So I always knew, like when I was 5, I was like, I'm gonna be a vet. I'm gonna be a fire guy. Like I'm gonna do all these cool things. But when I turned 6, somebody gave me a karaoke machine, and I remember just like I was such a shy kid. Like I wouldn't even want to sing in front of my mom, and whenever she caught me singing, I would be really embarrassed. But I knew I wanted to sing since I was probably 6 years old, and so I started just singing in my room along to the radio, and I had like cassettes then, so I could like put in the tapes and record tapes. And like I was in school choirs from then on, and didn't really start doing my own performances until middle school and like talent shows and those kinds of things. And then I didn't know exactly what I was going to major in until my probably sophomore, junior year of high school, when I realized, oh wait, I can do everything I want to do in music. Because my thing was, I want to have something that, is my dream, and I also want to have a backup plan in case that doesn't work out. But I didn't realize that I could do both of those things in music. And when I figured out I can do music education because I have a passion for teaching and a passion for being able to share music with all different kinds of people, across borders, across cultures, all of that, I was like, oh, I can do performance and I can do music education, and I can get, the stability and the skill set to be able to perform and be a performing artist and release my own music. And if that doesn't take off, then I can still teach the next generation about music and, how to express themselves and all of those things. And my big thing is the community, giving back to the community, really just involving the community in the arts. And so on any scale that I can do that, I'm happy to do it.
And your principal instrument is?
Voice. But courtesy of music ed, we have to learn how to play everything. So at the moment, I can get around a piano, guitar, trumpet, French horn, clarinet, saxophone, violin, cello, and ukulele is my other thing. Like, I love that thing. I'll play it all day. I'm the most comfortable with that string instrument, like as far as accompanying myself. But those are all the ones that I'm able to currently teach and get around them. Not necessarily play super well. I can if I really wanted to, or if I wanted to practice and get something down. But
now I want to know, do you know on the ukulele, do you know Tiptoe Through the Tulips?
I don't. No, I don't, but I love that song. It's such a jam.
Yeah,
it makes me laugh really hard.
Yeah, Tiny Tim, 1960.
Yeah.
Aww.
I'd like for you to learn that song for us and come back next Friday, if you could do that. That would be good. How is blindness, if it has it, have people said, oh, well, she's a musician, she's blind people are musicians, or has it prevented from getting into the industry? How do you feel blindness has played this whole thing?
Blindness and music.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Let's get into
Let's do it. Let's
at
go.
least from my perspective. So, as far as, I think there's been a lot of, like, there's always the stereotypes, like, oh, you must either play like Ray Charles or Stevie Wonder, because that's all anybody has seen for as far as blind representation, like big stars in the industry. And so I've seen that a lot as far as, like, you know, I remember I stopped performing after a talent show and somebody was like, oh, Miss Stevie Wonder, cool, how are you? And I was like, no, I'm Precious Perez, thank you, I'm going to be myself. And so I think that there is a form of, as far as the mainstream, like, you know, all the pop stars and all the people that we see, there isn't representation enough of blindness and of people that don't look like Ray Charles or Stevie Wonder. And that's something that, you know, I would like to have an impact on changing if I could. But I also do think that as far as blindness, we have the ability to alter the way that people see things. And, you know, you don't look a certain way or you don't dress a certain way, so you don't have that star factor. And it shouldn't be about that. But unfortunately, Hollywood is kind of superficial on that front. Like, I auditioned for The Voice once, and I went in there, I did my thing. Granted, I didn't have the skills that I do now at the time, so I recognize that, but they were also just kind of looking for a certain thing, and you never know what they're going to look for, because really those shows are built on ratings and not actual, like, exposure for artists and talent. They want to make sure you actually have a story that people will want to watch. So if you don't look a certain way or you can't fit a mold, that plays a role in what they're looking for and what they want. So me being somebody that refuses to fit any kind of mold other than the one that I want to fit for myself, it can be difficult, I think, to break into the industry, which is why I haven't. But I think it's also given me opportunities. As far as music education goes, I was the first blind student at Berkeley to go through their music education program. So I'm still fighting an uphill battle with that, but it's gotten to a point where I've been able to create this really great relationship with the department and with the professors that at first were like, how are you going to manage a classroom? How are you going to do this? How can you figure this out? We don't know what to do. We're freaking out. And I remember, like, meeting the chair before I even applied to the major, and he was like, you know, this is going to be a lot of work, right? Like, don't you have somebody that'll help you with, like, transportation? Like, you know, how are you going to do this, that, and the other? And, you know, I was just kind of like, okay, you know, I let it pass, but in my head I was going, you have no idea who you're dealing with. Because I have all the sass. So, you know, but I think I've been able to kind of, Berkeley is a great school and it's wonderful, but not every major is accessible or has been made accessible for any blind student that wants to go through whichever major. And I think that's wrong, because I feel like we should have the opportunity to gain the same education that anyone else can go through and have, regardless of whether or not we have a disability.
Yeah.
And it's not accessible. It's not fully accessible. There are things that really shouldn't be happening that are still happening. And I'm just really excited that even though it's a headache sometimes, I'm able to kind of pave that road for anybody else who wants to pursue music education, whether they do or not, and that my professors know what to expect and, you know, are more open-minded and more, you know, aware of the fact that, you know, not every student you're going to have in your class is going to be the same. And sometimes you're going to have to be confronted with that, and not everybody is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you expound on that too? What are some ways that you have taken those obstacles and changed them around to make things accessible? I'm particularly curious about the music education, because you're right. That is such a field. Yeah. You know, education in general is often, you look down upon, you can't do that as a blind person. But then music education, you have all these added bonuses of working with instruments and various things like that. So what are some ways that you have worked that out? And I'm sure it's still a learning process with every new class that comes along.
So a lot of the things now, it's another factor of this that, you know, there's just certain things that I'm going to have to figure out in the field, because I don't have the time or the resources to be able to navigate it with the time that we have and within the curriculum that they've structured. For example, one time we were working with orff instruments, so like xylophones and metallophones and glockenspiels, and they were all labeled and had mallets of different sizes. And my teacher just went, okay, everybody go to the closet and get these out and put them in this order. None of them were labeled. There was no way for me to participate in that. And so, you know, we would just talk about, okay, theoretically you would either set this up in advance or you'd have like somebody there to help you. And, you know, I'm already aware of the fact that I will have to have somebody in the room, not necessarily to teach for me or anything, but just to kind of be there and help set up, help with any like visual paperwork or anything like that. And just as far as, you know, liability goes, whatever, because people are still afraid of the fact that, wow, you can't see what's happening. So how would you deal with, you know, emergencies? Which, you know, I don't like, but I understand. And so we just kind of talk about those theoretical things, but it's not something that I'm going to be able to put into practice the way that the rest of my peers have been able to.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of kind of coming up with solutions that I know I'm going to be able to use, or like, hey, maybe I can do it this way. And it's an added factor because I really want to teach elementary. I want to teach all of the little kids, and you know, I'm not opposed to teaching older kids.
Well,
I will.
You are kind of a little kid. That's right. You know, you're kind of a little kid yourself, there, Precious. So therefore, before I want to hear you perform a little bit. I think we've got a setup where we can hear a little bit of a piece. But I also want to know, do you have a glockenspiel? I'd like to have a glockenspiel. What the hell's a glockenspiel?
It's like this little like wooden thing with little bars on it, and you hit it with a mallet, and it sounds really cute, and it just makes these little like
the click noise, like a horse.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta have a glockenspiel.
I really love.
Percussion.
I really love that.
Yeah, I've got a drum set right above this room right here. I actually have a drum set in my bedroom.
We're so glad.
Which they're thrilled about down here in the bunker. But I'm going to add a glockenspiel, an accordion, and if they really, really make me mad, bagpipes. Anyway,
Fantastic.
All right, so Kev, how are we going to work this out so we can hear our opening act a little bit? Do we have something
I've
from
got
Precious?
something to play. I'll just play.
Now, let me ask you, Precious, how do you define, I call you indie pop. Does that make you angry that I call you that?
I don't fit into a box. So I do, the main genres I do are pop, R&B, and Latin. Those are the three main things, but I also do, you know, classical. I was classically trained before I went to Berkeley, and jazz and anything else really. So I don't know. I am diverse, and that's the way I like to describe it.
Well, I love the Latin stuff. You do a whole lot. And on my music mix on Spotify, I have you labeled as world indie pop. So like it or don't sell the record. I don't know. All right.
Fascinating.
The A&R guys would say, you know.
Yeah.
Kev, how we
Can I give a little intro to this piece before we play it?
Yeah.
So this is actually off of my latest EP, and it's a song called Campeona. And so it's obviously in Spanish. And that means champion. And this song, I think, is very fitting for the times and also just in general. It basically talks about how, you know, sometimes as one person, we can feel like everything is on our shoulders, and sometimes you feel unimportant, like what you're doing doesn't matter. But, you know, then when you remember that you're surrounded by people that love you and people that support you, you're not alone, and together we can do anything that we want to accomplish. And at the end of the day, when all is said and done, we're all champions.
And this
so
is one of my favorites of yours. It's on my mix, Kevin.
All right, here we go.
Hopefully this works.
persona con un corazón muy grande. Cuando todo es demasiado, nunca estarás solo. Estaré aquí para ti. Y cuando todo es hecho y hecho, eres un campeón. Y yo soy una campeona. Soy una campeona. Soy una campeona. Soy una campeona.
Yeah.
Brava,
Rock it
brava.
up. Precious, everybody. As we used to say, they would have said in my day, that's number 2 with a bullet. So tell us again. That's wonderful. By the way, who's your percussionist there on the side?
That's my fiance, Shane.
Yeah. I thought
Yeah.
maybe so, Shane. Yeah, because I see the videos and you guys are so cute talking. It's, you know what it is? It's very precious.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Precious, so much for doing this. Tell people how
Yeah,
they
of
find
course.
music before we ring. You know, we got to bring on the star next. You're the opener, baby, but that's good. So,
Yeah, so
we
if
get
you
your-
want to find all the things, you can go to preciousperezmusica.com. That's just MUSICA. So preciousperezmusica.com, and you'll find all my music, all my social media, everything.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And real
Thanks
quick,
very much. We love you, Precious.
Thanks, Precious. That's
Thank
great.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, Kev's got to talk to JP here.
hey, JP, I know we told you to turn your voiceover off, but it's not letting me unmute you. You have to accept an unmute request. Sorry.
Yeah, don't listen to us. Just listen to us now.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't listen to us earlier.
All right.
It's happy hour. I don't know what everybody's drinking. I'm having a triple Tito's with grapefruit and club, just so you know.
There we go. Thanks. Sorry, JP.
JP,
Hey, you got me?
how are
Yeah.
you, brother?
Hey.
Yeah.
I'm well.
How about that Precious?
She's wonderful.
Yeah.
Great.
Woo-woo.
Fantastic job.
So we're going to introduce a guy. You guys, many of you folks of our brothers and sisters have seen JP around the Federation for a long time. And odd thought just popped into my head. JP, 4 or 5 years ago when I had a business, recorded radio jingles for me. I reached out.
That's right.
I need you to record it. And he said, what do you want me to do? I said, I don't know, make it up. And he sent me stuff. And by the way, JP, we used that spot for like 4 years on Colorado Springs.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. So here you are, a big singer, songwriter, star, ladies and gentlemen, JP Williams. How are you, man?
Woo.
I'm good. I'm doing really well. Just, social distancing like everybody else.
Yeah, and
But gives you a lot more time to hunker down and, write more songs.
is that what you've been doing? Is writing songs, performing? What have you been doing?
Mainly, I've been getting into, I've been building a home studio for the past year. So I have been going down the rabbit hole of Logic and getting into plugins, learning how to edit audio, becoming more autonomous in that way, because that was sort of something I always felt like was holding me back. I always had to depend on a track person or a producer to, after a song is done, to I hope you guys don't hear my dog barking in the background.
Well, we thought it was. So
That's one of the joys of being at home, and Zooming. Yeah, so now I can just do it all on my own. I write a song, I can go build a track, I can, and it's been very empowering. I've just had so much fun. These last few months, especially, I've just, I just really got more and more into it, more involved.
So how'd you get into this? You have written, actually, people think I'm teasing because I tease all the time, but you actually wrote at least one, maybe more than one big hit record in Nashville.
Yeah, Jimmy Allen's song "Best Shot." I was co-writer on that song, and it actually was a 3-week #1.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very, very grateful to be a part of that song. That kind of thing doesn't happen every day,
Right.
especially one that's there in that spot for that long. It was really just a blessing to be involved and to be a part of it.
It allowed me the
I've
opportunity.
cuts by other, Kanan Smith cut a song of mine on Universal, and then I've had a gospel #1, and Yeah, and I've just been in town a long time and woodshedding. Had a publishing deal.
Tell us what that means. Woodshedding. What's woodshedding?
Well, basically just crafting and shaping songs. You know, it's just a I guess slang for going down the rabbit hole, so to speak.
Does that mean you sit around with other guys and just kind of strum and stuff, or how does that songwriting process work?
Well, I was a signed writer, paid writer on Music Row for 7 years with a company, and it was really interesting. I really recognized the opportunity that they gave me. So I was a complete nerd about it. I would be there early, would leave late, but basically they, so I treated it like a job, definitely. Basically, so they would set me up with other songwriters from other publishing companies, and we would write together. And that's what you do in Nashville. I mean, I guess in pop music, I mean, it's happening all over the place now, but especially in Nashville for a long time, you do a lot of co-writing. And from a business standpoint, it makes sense because there's just more outlets for the song after it's done, and you demo it. It can be pitched by your publisher, the other writer's publisher, and also they like to set you up with artists that are up and coming. And that's what happened with Jimmy Allen. He didn't have a deal at the time, and my publisher came in and said, "Hey, this guy's coming over, Jimmy Allen. He doesn't have a record deal, but he's got a good voice." And I think he had just signed his publishing deal that day, I think. So he came in, and myself, Josh London, who was another writer at the same company at the time, sat down with Jimmy, and I think we wrote like 3 songs that day. We just really hit it off. And the song we wrote, we didn't write Best Shot that day, but we hit it off enough that we're like, we should keep doing this. So we wrote a handful of songs. One of those tunes happened to be Best Shot, and we were very fortunate that was his first single out of the gate. So
that's amazing. And how did you
persistence?
yeah. No, I was gonna say, how did you get into the field of songwriting, and what made you want to go down that path versus a different musical path? And how has that journey developed for you?
I love words. And there's something that just makes my brain light up when the right word hits the right phrase at the right time in a song. It's just, I don't know, it's the best feeling for me. And I think just the creative aspect of it, I love performing. I can be I call myself a performing songwriter, because through songwriting, I've been given a lot of opportunities, to play at Bluebird Cafe and places like that.
Wow.
And through songwriting, and I love the storytelling. I've often said it's a way I kind of keep my visual cortex engaged, because I love to craft pictures with words, and I got into, reading Hemingway and things like that. And he was just so brilliant about, describing how the sun goes down. I wouldn't say the sun goes down. He would say the sun slid down, over the water. It gets into like, how do you say it a little differently to make people see it?
Perez has left the meeting.
And so it's like, for me, that was just always, I just love that process of songwriting, and also too the co-writing aspect of it. I loved because of the camaraderie and the kind, you just get to meet people from all different backgrounds, and co-writing is so vulnerable, and you go in and it's like creative dating. You've never met the person before, and it's like, hey, let's get vulnerable together and write a song, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And you're just kind of like, they can be talented and you can have your abilities, but for whatever reason, the energy doesn't line up, and you're just kind of like, well, we won't do that again.
Let's hear a little. I'm sorry, JP, I don't mean to cut you off. I want to hear a little bit, and then we'll talk a little more. Now, do you guys, I don't know how we're doing that. Are you just playing live? What are we doing, Kim?
Yeah, he's going to play live.
Yeah, I'm just going to play a little live, yeah.
Let me do a couple quick things. Jessica over here has a good title for a song, if you like Hemingway. For who she loves that book, For Whom the Bell Tolls, don't you, Jess?
Yeah. So
Very cool.
I have to say though, when I read the book, my the thing I kept thinking the whole time was blow up the bridge already. So
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's
Blow up the bridge already? That's a cool title.
That's a good song title. Yeah.
Blow up the bridge already. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It was not hers. Let me just say. Anyway, JP, you want to strum and sing a little bit? We'd love to hear you, brother.
So I'll do one I wrote recently that I just really like because I love the melody on it. We, myself and buddy of mine, Chris Roberts, we wrote this right before COVID happened. We were actually in the room together. Imagine that. And the reason I like it's just interesting because you'll notice on the chorus we go to a 2 major chord, and for all you theory people out there, it's kind of a cool thing to do on the chorus. But
Exciting.
and I never know about Zoom about how it sounds, but I'm gonna do my best. We're just raindrops falling from a big gray sky to a turquoise ocean rolling deep and wide. Only here for a minute, then we fade away. Let's not waste time. Hey, what do you say? We fall in love, and that's in love. 2 specks of dust, baby, that's us, but we got love. Little verse and chorus is something there for you.
Oh, love it.
Wow, that is, man.
Love it.
You know, there's the reason that you were not the opening act.
No, Precious was fantastic.
She was
She
fantastic.
was. She
She's
is.
great.
You guys are both wonderful.
You really are. Now, let me ask you the important stuff. Caitlin, you and Jess, you guys interrupt any one time, but this is the important stuff. Now, you guys that are in Nashville in the music industry, do you guys just like drink whiskey and smoke dope all the time, or how's that work?
All the time. I mean, I get up in the morning, I reach for the bottle. I'm like a Chris Christopherson song. You know the song Sunday Morning Sidewalk? That's me every day.
Oh,
no, no, absolutely. I mean, for me, I mean, my other people might say that's what they do. I'm married and have 3 dogs and happy to be home, and I have a happy home life. So I'm not tortured. I need to be more tortured.
You do. Yeah. You do.
That is actually, it's funny, right before you said you were married, I was going to say that one of my favorite things about JP is his wife. And so I was gonna ask you to tell us a little bit about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I met her in the studio. She was writing a song for a corporate client of hers. She was doing a corporate video. So she dabbles in songwriting, and she's big into work. She's a very creative person. And she's in the tile industry. And but she owns an ad agency, and she's an independent business owner. And she wrote this song, and she was putting together this video. And a longtime friend of mine said, "Hey, come over and play a song. I mean, play guitar on this session. Want to make $50 today?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So we met and we set up a co-write. So that's how you avoid any kind of like, let's go out sometime. In Nashville, you can just say, let's get together and write. And there's no danger of being rejected.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah, that's what I've always leaned on. And you can't do that anywhere but Nashville. If you do that in, Wyoming, people are like, what?
Creepy.
Well, that's great. I mean, I should have been a
That's great.
singer-songwriter in Nashville. I wouldn't have had any trouble meeting chicks. I'd have just said, "Hey, baby, let's do a little co-write."
That's exactly, the inflection is right on. That's exactly right.
Very professional, very businesslike.
Hey, baby. Yeah, women love it when you say, "Hey, baby." Yeah.
Yeah. Do another tune for us, will you?
Well, I'll do a verse and a chorus of Best Shot.
Yeah.
I'm just flesh and bone, heart and soul. I've earned a couple scars. I let once in a lifetime kind of things slide right out of my arms. I struck out, been knocked down, more times than I can count. That don't matter now. 'Cause when you smile, I see the sun sink down on the coast out in California. There's no doubt because of you, I'm not the man I was before you. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, oh, you know I'm not, but I love you with everything I got. Girl, I'll give you my best shot. Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Yes,
I,
such a great song.
I heard that your writing partner, the guy that did the hit record, tell me his name, I forgot it.
Jimmy Allen.
Yeah, Jimmy Allen. I heard that he only wrote like 2 words and you wrote the whole thing. That's what I
I guess he's not on this call.
Right.
Yes, that's accurate. Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm just saying what I heard.
He's not around to defend himself, so sure. That's
That's great. Now, so talk to us about the whole limo thing. Now that you've had a #1 hit record, you guys have a limo and everything. Is that the deal?
Yes, and I'm actually zooming from an island. I've been drinking pina coladas all day and sitting.
One in each hand.
Yes, and I love this part of the journey. This is part of the journey.
Yeah.
I want to know what it was like to play on the Opry stage.
Yeah, we heard
Yes.
by the way. When
that was a dream come true. I mean, I was just playing a writer's night, and this gentleman comes up to me and says, "Hey, my sister's Lori Morgan,
Ooh.
and she's doing a songwriter in the round
Nice.
coming up at the Bluebird." And let me back up. Sorry. That night I did a song called Grand Ole Opry, and it's basically a song from the perspective of the Opry, if the Opry was like a person, and
Yeah, it's a
the
great
Opry
song.
sitting in a rocking chair.
Yeah, it's a
telling
great
you-
record. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so I did this song, and he came up, and Marty, his dad, George Morgan, was a huge, he's part of the Opry family,
Yeah.
and then Lori Morgan came up. So there's a lot of history there in his family. So anyway, he invited me. He said, "Would you come play that song next week at the Bluebird?" And I said, "Sure." And so I played the song, and Lori Morgan was sitting right across from me, and she said, "This Friday, I want you to play that song on the Opry as my special guest."
Oh,
And I said, "No, thanks."
Yeah. I'm sorry. I've got.
naturally.
I was like, let me check. I'll have my people call your people.
I've got plans.
I'll get back to you. No, I said, but I would be honored. And I definitely followed up, but I sort of had low expectations. I hate to say that, but I was like, wow, what a nice thing. She invited me. That's really,
Yeah.
being invited is really special, but you never know in this business. And so, so I followed up, and it happened. And I walked in the back door at the Opry, and there's like, my wife's sort of telling me what's happening. We're walking down the hall, and there's little Jimmy Dickens,
Wow.
quotes, Ernest Tubb, all these, legends.
Yeah.
And I'm just like taking snapshots in my brain because I want to soak it up and remember everything, And so, when it was my turn, I walked out, I sat in the circle, just me and the guitar.
Yeah.
And got to play a song I wrote with Bobby Tomberlin called Grand Ole Opry. And it was really, honestly, I made sure to just, like I said, take snapshots and remember every single second of the experience, because that's something that also doesn't happen every day. So.
Yeah, that was, we all listened to it across the country.
Really?
A lot of us
Oh, wow.
around. I sort of acted as though it was 1952 and I was gathered around a tube radio.
That's cool.
You were like,
Did you listen to it on an AM frequency?
yeah.
Was it
Oh
on-
yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and you were opening for Hank. You were getting ready to open for Hank.
Oh, yeah.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
That's great.
And
That's nice.
Are you able to do a little piece of that? Can you do
Sure.
that too?
Yeah, man, I like this verse and chorus deal here.
Yeah.
Sound,
And you're still
through.
getting paid the same.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that great? Yeah. I was born on one November night back in 1925. Millions would invite me in, their living room like some old friend. I remember like it was yesterday, the first night I crossed the radio waves. I was introduced by George D. Hayes. He'd say, "Let her go, boys," and the fiddle played. And they say that I'm the one that made country music what it is today. But it really wasn't me, it was the stars who graced my stage. I'm alive and well as I can be. I'm the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, so beautiful.
Oh, thank
The
you.
singer-songwriter, man, you're pretty good on that act, too, buddy. I'll tell you what. It's nice.
I love the shift to minor there in the end of the
Yeah,
chorus. It's so good. So good.
Yeah, and might be my favorite song of yours, JP. Really, partially because I'm a huge devotee of the Grand Ole Opry. By the way, for folks, you want to know, there's some good books on Bard about the history of WSM Nashville and the Grand Ole Opry. There's some really nice stuff. And if you read any of those books and you listen to that song, you'll realize that JP truly captured the essence of the Grand Ole Opry. So, hey, thanks for doing it for us, man.
Oh, no, thank you for asking. Thanks for remembering.
Yeah.
Do you, can I ask what is, I mean, and maybe it's one of the ones you've already played for us, but what is one of your favorite songs that you've ever written? And what, you know, why was it your favorite? Why is it your favorite?
Wow.
The one that gave him the limo, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the butler. Don't forget about the butler. The limo driver have a butler. It's crazy. No. You know, that's a tough question. I've been asked that question before. It's a really tough one for me to answer. Yeah. And a lot of times your favorite one is something that's like that you just wrote.
Right. It changes.
There's that high of been created. You know, it may not be your best song, but it feels so good to that I've created something new. You know, and But I really enjoy the Grand Ole Opry song just because I've always held Grand Ole Opry to such a high regard. And you know, to capture the essence, a little like a 3-minute history lesson. That was a fun day in the room.
I wish they'd let you do that on the Grand Ole Opry stage. That would be wouldn't that be something? That would be. I don't know if you emotionally could handle it, brother.
That'd be amazing.
Let's do a couple quick questions. We're running short on time, and but if folks have short, as I always say on Friday afternoon, lightning round, because we only have this special guest this time. We might be able to bring him back. Who knows? He's a Federationist. So if you've got a question or two that you want to ask JP or Caitlin McIntyre, raise your hand. Tell them the drill.
If you dialed in, it's *9. If you're on the app, it's under the More section or under the participants list. Alt-Y on the Windows.
All right, questions computer. For JP. I think Precious I think she had to go to a concert or something.
Yeah.
I think she actually did have a prior engagement. We have any questions for JP or Caitlin? I always say
it's okay. My screen readers mispronounce my name all the time, you know.
Well, I get PJ, JT, JR.
Yeah.
Well, hey, while we're waiting a second, JP, if people want to get to your music, to hear you perform your music, what's the best way for us to do that?
Well, I'm currently with this home studio I've got going on now. I'm going to start doing my own recordings, which will be a lot of fun. But I've got a website, jpwilliams.net, that I'm going to start doing more with. But I do a lot. I'm very active on Instagram, and I'm Blind Man Graham on there. So
Blind Man Graham.
Blind Man Graham on Instagram. Yeah.
And then how would people find your album, or any of the albums that are out that you've written on?
Well, yeah, you can look up on iTunes is always a good way to go. You can ask your Amazon device to play it, you know, but if you look up Kanan Smith, one of those, that's a cut that I had on his Bronco album. Brett Kissel, She's Desire. Never Walk Alone is a song, it was a gospel song that was performed by Brian Free and Assurance. And then Best Shot by Jimmy Allen. Trying to think. Yeah, those are the ones that are coming to mind right now.
We'll do a write-up and put a little piece in the blog next week for folks who are interested in our Blind Colorado. We'll do a little research and do a few links to some of JP's stuff, because he's truly a treasure that we have in the National Federation of Blind.
I love the Federation, and I love the mindset and the philosophy, and it's taught me a lot. Really has.
Yeah. Any questions?
We've got phone number ending in 0965.
0965.
This is Ricardo from Atlanta,
Hi,
Oh, hey, Ricardo.
Hey,
and
man.
I just wanted to say a quick thank you, because I am just like you. I am a huge classic country music fan. So thank you for the song. Nice jamming with you. God bless.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for listening. Thanks for being here.
All right. And then Marianne, we will close with you. Except the unmute.
Marianne?
There we go.
Absolutely. Let me run back in my house so you don't hear the dogs barking in the hallway. JP, Precious is not here, but I love what she does. I love beyond love what you do. I was born and bred in classic country and so on. I have to know, and for those who've never done it, the best money you can ever spend in the world is to take the VIP tour at the Opry and stand there on the stage when the red curtain comes up. And if you're anything like me, you stand there and cry.
Yep.
But what I want to know is, did you get a chance to see the fountain, Minnie Pearl's fountain, as you walked in the back door?
No, I did not. And it was at the Opry House. It wasn't at the Ryman. But because they do the Opry at the Opry House half the year, and then they do it at the Ryman the other half.
Right.
So when I sang on the Opry, it was at the Opry House, but I did not get to see that fountain. No, I did not.
Or the hat. You didn't even see her hat or anything, huh? Yeah.
No, but my wife did see a lot of things on the wall, and she would tell me about it. I mean, Minnie Pearl's everywhere.
Oh God, yeah.
My wife's a huge Minnie Pearl fan.
I love Minnie Pearl too, and I remember when I was a little girl at the library, they would do some different opportunities that you could touch. They would like a show and tell, but you could touch different things. And I remember
Cool.
we got to check out one of Minnie Pearl's sequins jackets and hats, and something of Barbara Mandel, and it was so neat.
Wow.
Wow. That's really cool.
Those kind of stars, man, and I don't know if it's that we elevate the past, but there was something anointed about all that, I mean, the uniqueness of each artist. No one sounded alike. I think people wanted to find singers who sounded different, and but I guess it was a different time, and But,
yeah, we didn't have social media. We only had the little AM radio station, living in rural wherever, right? So
and the mystique of what Nashville, you didn't know what the star was having for lunch,
right?
And I think that takes away some of the mystique and some of the mystery of.
I think that's right. That's a good point.
In my opinion, but others may disagree.
I agree. We have to wrap it up. But you got to tell the story. Go ahead. I got a couple things. So you had to tell your story of royalty. So I tell this. I don't know. I haven't told it for years, and then recently I've told it a couple of times. I was in a little band in Austin. We opened for Willie Nelson once, and yeah, I mean, because I'm such a Willie freak, and when they asked me, this is 1980, so cool. And someone said, "Well, how much did they pay you?" I said, "I think they paid us $50, but I guarantee we would have paid them." I guarantee. And he came up and he patted me on the shoulder. You're pretty good on the drums, he said, and he walked by, and I'm like, ooh, and I'm terrible. I'm just awful. But what a nice man he was. And there's a lot of nice people in country music, isn't there, JP?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Willie Nelson. Wow, you can't get any better than that.
No, you can't. Yeah. You can't. Now, in this time of pandemic, in this time of George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, you mentioned a gospel tune that you wrote that we can get. Do you remember? Could you take us out maybe on something like that? Thanks for being with us, man. Thank you. Great week of Mountain Time live at 5. We thank all of you. we have a great weekend. Caitlin, thank you for being with us. Caitlin, we appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And anyone, please come over to the National Federation of the Blind Performing Arts Division too. We'd love to have you, love to network, love to connect. So
Yeah,
reach out.
They do some.
Feeling great to see you again. Great.
Yeah,
great
you too.
Wonderful.
Thank you. You as well.
JP, take us out, baby.
Let's see if I can remember. Arms stretched out wide, barely hanging on to life. Left to suffer on your own. You came for all mankind to bridge the great divide. Somehow ended up alone. Because of all the blood and tears you shed,
Jamie's iPhone has left.
I will never know that kind of loneliness. 'Cause your spirit never leaves me, even when I'm hurting. I don't have to bear that burden on my own. 'Cause you carried all the pain and buried all the shame when you made that rugged tree your righteous throne. Because of you, I'll never walk alone. Thanks for having me, y'all.
Thank you. Night, everybody.
Amen. Thank you.
God bless.
Night, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Great to be here.